There are things that you can do when the marriage is distressed, when the marriage is struggling. There are things that you can do that will increase the likelihood that you can reconcile, reconnect, regain that love and feeling that you lost and have a healthy, strong marriage. In other words, there are some things that you can do to save your marriage alone. So let's talk about what those things might be. And if you're in that situation right now, by the way, and you're listening to me, I want you to know what I'm about to tell you, though I give you some principles and strategies to think of, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. It won't be easy. It will be frustrating. It will feel like you're fighting against a mountain that won't move. It'll feel as if you want to give up at times. There's a part of you that's like, what's the use in this? And you'll have to find that reason within yourself. Hopefully, it's because you still love that person, and there may be other reasons. The first strategy, then, in saving your marriage alone is you need to decide that you're committed to fighting for your marriage. In other words, you need to make a decision and have reasons for it. The second strategy for saving your marriage alone is make a decision that I am going to be a person of goodwill. I'm going to be a person who's respectful. I'm going to be a person who's caring. And I'm going to be a person who's humble. Now, the third strategy in order to save your marriage alone is basically respect your boundaries. And this is very important, respect their boundaries. Respect your boundaries. Don't let people walk all over you. Don't let people mistreat you. Don't let people talk down to you. All right. If you don't respect yourself, then you won't demand that people respect you. Just because you're trying to save a marriage doesn't mean you allow someone to hurt you. Doesn't mean you allow someone to mistreat you. All right. You can still speak your truth in a loving way. Say, no, I care about you, but you're not going to talk down to me. You can stand for your own value and worth, and you must. If you don't stand for your value and worth, who's going to? However, you also need to respect the boundaries of your partner. If your partner says, don't talk to me, don't talk to him. If your partner says, don't write me notes, don't write them notes. If your partner says, I'm going to sleep in the other room and you can't do anything about it, let it happen. Don't try and control it. Remember, when that person is walking away from you, they don't want to be around you. Sometimes people think it's counterintuitive to allow someone to do something that appears like it's going to be the ending of the marriage. I mean, I like your wishes, but I will respect them. And that's tough. The fourth strategy for saving a marriage is going to be tough. You're really going to have to give up expecting them to understand and care about how you feel. You need to seek to understand how they feel. So you can't expect them to care about you right now. It's not in them. But you've got to be able to start listening to understand their feelings. Does not mean I agree with you. That's very important. Some people think understanding means agreement. It actually doesn't. Trying to force agreement will actually destroy a relationship. The next is you've got to learn how to communicate in a way that creates connection, that creates a bond. The next strategy is when you communicate your emotions, when you communicate your feelings, you need to make sure you do it not through the lower order animal brain, fight, flight, or freeze, because the fight, flight, and freeze response will not build a connection. You need to be able to communicate through the four protectors: goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy. Now, this is very important. Don't deny your feelings. Don't act as if they don't exist. You have a right to your feelings just as much as they have a right to their feelings. You have a right to share your feelings just as much as they have a right to share theirs. Just use wisdom in when to talk and when not to talk, when to bring something up or when not to bring something up. The next strategy, and this is going to be really difficult, but it's going to require maturity on your part, is to take that deep breath when they share some kind of criticism with you and step back and begin to view their criticism from their emotional or relational perspective. In other words, don't take what they have to say as a personal attack. Here's why. what they're sharing with you, even though it's critical or it sounds like criticism to you, there may be an element of truth to it. And if there is an element of truth to it, they're still right. And at that moment, I need to own those things because it's a piece of the puzzle. So view their criticism as a mirror for some things that I can start doing, that I can start working on, that I can start transforming parts of myself. But what people do is they tend to defend how they think they are and believe they are. But in the end, it's how you are that ultimately matters. I may think that I'm being pleasant, but I come across as unpleasant. I may think I'm coming across as patient, but what they may see is I'm coming across as critical. Because our self perception could very well be different than how I am. And people don't know how you think you are, but they do know how you are. And the disconnect between how I think I am and how I am is the problem. And you don't want to allow your defensiveness to get in the way of learning something about yourself. And I think the last strategy here I want to talk about is no matter what, and by the way, when I say this, to do what I'm about to tell you requires you developing yourself to be a healthy, mature adult. And by the way, if you do all these strategies, you're actually doing what leads up to the last strategy. No matter what you do, love your spouse, love your partner maturely. And in order to love someone maturely, you have to be slow to anger. You have to practice patience. You have to practice kindness. You have to silence yourself when that low brain, that animal part of your brain wants to spout off or say something or run. You have to use the skills and tools to express yourself in a mature way. You have a right to your thoughts and feelings. You don't have a right to demand them, and you don't have a right to impose them. It's disrespectful to demand to impose something. There's no goodwill in it, and it's disrespectful. It's a form of controlling another person in a passive way. You've got to love them maturely. If you're able to do those things on a regular basis, can you save your marriage? No, not necessarily. Two to make a mess, one to kill it. These are things that you can do to fight for your marriage, even though your partner does not want to.